can just wear jeans and a T-shirt because it's a podcast. No one's going to see me.
Would have been cool, though. Then you would have been the cool, hip owner.
Right.
So all you need to do, and I'm going to do before we leave, I'm just going to hit that record so you're recording. But, before you start, if you just do me the favor, and I know you can chat it up and just get comfortable with each other and say, hey, Gary, I'm going to start.
Okay.
And go 3, 2, 1.
Cool.
And then get into it.
Okay.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Well.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
So, like I said, then we're going to probably start with, I'll just do an intro. I'm going to let you introduce Crop, who you are, what you do, and we'll hop into it. You saw my preferences if we can even start like growing up.
Do it chronologically. That's what I like.
So because that's the other thing I found too is it's very cool to hear. Again, I know there's some history. Your dad did some stuff, and I'm interested to hear if that is kind of what pushed you into what you're doing now. So go through there, then ultimately talk about founding years at Crop. Truthfully, some of the struggles, some of the wins, and then kind of how things are going now. And then maybe even a couple tips or tricks that you would maybe share out to others who are either just getting started or maybe you feel like you really mastered a specific part of things. I doubt you'll go that direction. You're always very humble, but so anyway, that's kind of how we're gonna go. All right, Gary. So we're gonna get going here, and boom, we're live. Did you think it was going to be that quick? We're just going to hop right into it? Because we are. We're hopping right into it. Welcome, everyone. This is the Next Level Project is actually the name of this podcast. And the point of it is, I think everyone should always be looking and searching to really get to that next level in whatever it is, whether it be your personal fitness or your company or maybe relationships with others. I think you should always be pushing to try and get to that next level. So that's what we're here for today. We actually have our guest, Miss Jennifer Adams, who is the president of Crop Creative Media. And Jennifer, I'm going to kick it over to you and let you just kind of introduce yourself, tell a little bit about what Crop does, and then we'll just get into it.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me. Crop Creative Media is a video production company. These days, we are doing much more than just television advertising, commercials for television. Obviously, we're all in the digital age now, so we're doing a lot of content that is specifically for social use or digital platforms. We've also expanded our services recently to, I'm sorry, I hear like a little Is that okay?
A little hiss. I think we'll iron that out. It's okay.
So we've expanded our services to be more of a creative agency these days. Being able to work directly with clients on marketing needs, internal communications need, any communications need, and supporting what we do digitally or film-wise with print, banner ads, billboards, radio commercials, so everything in that arena.
So then to kind of regurgitate it back, really start to finish, soup to nuts, anything marketing, advertising, space in general, right even down to audio probably. You could do, in-house audio and things like that.
Correct. We have a sound studio. There are coincidentally a lot of quasi-celebrity types who do live in Jacksonville and sometimes are working on television series or movies, and they will come in and do what is called ADR, so they'll lay down lines for a scene they may have cut in LA or New York, but they're living here in Jacksonville, so they have to come in and read lines. I wish I could quote some of the people. I know that we just recently did something for the Babysitters Club. I think people know what that is.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, we do a lot of that, and our sound engineer also does the sound design for all of our work. So everything from music to mixing to sound effects.
Okay.
He's also a composer, so sometimes he can write original music for projects.
So not to name drop, but are there maybe a couple names that people in Jacksonville would recognize, some work that you all have participated in?
Our clients as a company?
And if you don't feel comfortable sharing, that's fine.
No, it's all public information. One of our biggest clients and a very relationship that I'm very proud of is with Wounded Warrior Project. They started here in Jacksonville. I think we're coming up on, I'm so bad with numbers, but 15 or 20 years.
Oh,
and
wow.
in my prior career, because we started Crop in 2012, in my prior place of work, we were working with Wounded Warrior Project. So it's been a long relationship. And they're one of, obviously a national organization.
Sure.
WTA, Women's Tennis Association, based in St. Petersburg, Florida. We do a lot of work for them. They've also been a longtime client since we started.
Very cool.
A lot of corporate work, Allstate Benefits,
Okay.
Medtronic. I have a tendency to lapse. I have to look at a list to remember.
No,
the big
I mean,
clients.
I think those are certainly some names that everyone would recognize. Obviously, so I do know a thing or two about you all, and something I did always find to be very cool. In addition to the Wounded Warrior Project work, which is incredible, but also the WTA stuff is so cool to be able to participate in, and I know. Kind of revealing a little bit behind the scenes too. You guys get to travel sometimes along with that to overseas areas, right?
Yeah, I've been to Istanbul, been to Quebec.
That's awesome.
And we're all now very knowledgeable in the history and the direction of professional women's tennis. So it's been really fun to learn about the players and be exposed to people like Serena Williams, and Billie Jean King and
Very cool.
Chris Evert. For people that in Jacksonville, for our television presence, we do all the Harrell and Harrell television, print, billboard, all of their stuff, and have been since we started the company in 2012. Another fun one is Turner Pest Control.
Yeah.
And we do these little campaigns that feature the puppets.
Yeah.
Like Crunchy the roach.
Crunchy, that's right.
And Munchie the termite and Mosquito. So that's been fun. So we work directly with, like I said, corporations or straight to, business to business, or we go through advertising agencies. And advertising agencies are, a big source of revenue for us. So they'll have a client and they'll trust us to execute their plan.
Cool.
So we either execute the agency's plan or we come up with our own plan and execute it, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. So I do want to go ahead and kick it back to really growing up. Actually, I want to make sure we go start to finish here. So growing up, I'm not sure if you are from Florida or if you're from elsewhere, but tell me a little bit about. As odd as it may seem, tell me a little bit about growing up, maybe what your parents did, and then did any of that upbringing and or influence from your parents and maybe seeing them do what they do, did any of that take a role in your current career path today?
Absolutely. I wouldn't be where I am today without the influence of my parents. One of my earliest memories of what my dad did for a living was that he owned a radio station. I'm from Savannah, Georgia, and he had the coolest space for this radio station. It was down on the river on River Street, and the cobblestones, and just it's impressive to be a little girl and your dad has this radio station and people running around working for him, writing ad copy, recording radio spots.
Did he have a radio voice?
He had a radio voice, and he did a lot of the voice. He wasn't the DJs, but he did a lot of the recording for the clients.
That's cool.
He started his career in television advertising sales. So he left his career being a television advertising sales manager to start this radio station, and he did start it with a partner. So after that, those were fun years. He eventually sold this station and ended up opening his own advertising agency, Fredrich and Associates. And my maiden name is Fredrich, and his name was Russ. And so, I got to watch that business grow from scratch and see what he did. And his talent really was sales. He was a people person. He would, he never met a stranger. And then he was very skilled at buying media because he had a lot of relationships. Savannah is a bigger town now than it was when I was there growing up. I'm sure it probably still operates much the same way in the media world, but yeah, it's all about the relationship. So yeah, he and my mom worked for, she was our school teacher, up until I was born. But she helped him with the books
Okay.
at the agency.
So not to cut you off there, but, in that time, even now, I would have to assume that starting a radio station, kind of taking it back just a second, starting a radio station, it's an assumption here, would probably take a lot of capital up front because of all the equipment you had to maybe bring on or no?
I think I wish I knew more. However, I know during the time that he started that, it wasn't nearly as expensive to get into
Okay.
as it is today.
Okay.
Yes,
So there wasn't-
equipment-wise, but they had an opportunity to get the first FM frequency available
Oh,
in
cool.
the Savannah market. And at the time, I think the FM, that was growing, and everyone was used to AM, so it wasn't as expensive to get into.
Okay.
Technology-wise, equipment-wise, I don't know what the output
Sure.
would. I know he had relationships.
So
with
y'all
bankers.
didn't have a time where he sold the house and said, "Hey, we're starting a company."
No, I was very, very fortunate
Okay.
growing up. Never didn't have those struggles.
Okay.
I don't know where he got them. I mean, I know that he made money always. So, to try to keep it short, he always told me, maybe starting when I was a teenager, maybe when I was in college, the only way you're going to make money is if you work for yourself. You have
Okay.
to work for yourself.
Okay.
And that's, I had in the back of my mind,
Sure.
even though I started my career in video production, eventually I would want to work for myself. And when the time was right, that's
Sure.
what happened. And yeah, I remembered, all the lessons that I learned along
Yeah.
the way and things that, he had for example, he had a real estate client. Contour was the name of the real estate company. And we would shoot the television commercials at our house. And these people would get up on our roof. It
On your
was-
roof? What are they on the roof for?
that let Connor get on top of it, and they would all get up on the roof. And I remember my mother was a nervous wreck that somebody was going to fall and kill themselves. But so that was he didn't have to put a location fee, for example, in
Yeah.
the budget for that spot
Yeah.
because they were doing it at our house.
Right.
So I learned a lot of things about how budgets work
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
how to do things efficiently and different parts of the equation when you're doing something like that: wardrobe, makeup, location, crew, equipment. I was sort of exposed to the whole thing growing up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then he got me an internship when I was in college at a television station there, and it was such a small station, and there wasn't a lot of they needed help. So before I knew it, they were sending me out to do my own stories.
Okay.
And back then, I had to shoot a lot of my own stories.
Okay.
So I have a lot of I have a background in trying to develop a story on the spot, out of a news opportunity, coming back to the station, writing it, getting it on the air.
Now, was that in a time where you were lugging a 20-pound camera around all by yourself in the 80, 100-degree weather trying to set up a shot?
Yeah, the camera, and then the deck, everything was tape, based.
Yeah.
So I had to carry the deck on my shoulder. Had to set up for my little stand-up, which maybe at the fountain or the red light in town or something.
Yeah.
But it was so fun.
Yeah.
So fun.
That's cool. So, kind of in that same vein, you're now in video production. I guess first, how long did you kind of stay in that realm before you ended up jumping ship? But then paired with that, I'm also curious to know if you can maybe reflect back on some influence you had while you were there, maybe from a manager or a boss that really made an impact, or something you learned along the way during your time there.
At the television station?
Yeah.
I really wanted to be a reporter. I loved it. I loved telling stories and meeting people, but they all told me, Jennifer, if you don't get to a big market, you're not going to make it. I don't want to sound like I was driven by money, but I was young, and
Sure.
they were being honest. They were 10 years older than me,
Right.
and they were like, yeah, you might want to rethink that. I did meet a man that turned out to be my first husband, who unfortunately passed away soon after we were married. But he was a reporter, and he ended up being the news director eventually, and that's what brought me to Jacksonville.
Okay.
So he moved here, and he got a job with WTLV as a producer, and I moved here, and we got married, and I got a job in quote-unquote video production with a small company.
Okay.
So I didn't really know what it was. I thought I would work in advertising. I thought my dad would hire me.
Right.
I just assumed that he would, but he did not.
No free rides. Okay.
No, he said, "What? I can't do that. What's that going to look like?"
Yeah.
So, no favors there, and ended up moving to Jacksonville, getting a job, and the rest, I guess, as they say, is history. You know, I worked for a couple of big production companies.
Okay.
White Hawk Pictures was one. Charlie Barth, who unfortunately just recently passed away, was like a father to me, and I learned a ton from him, and I was there for over 10 years. And from there, I went to DVA, and that's where I met my current business partner, Bill, and a lot of the staff that we have at Crop came from DVA, and DVA is no longer in business. So I hate to make it sound like, I don't want to make it sound like it was an easy hill to climb, because I had to, when we started Crop, put my house up and all that stuff and get a loan, and that was scary. But
what do you think?
It's all worked out.
What do you think? I mean, things like that. That's a big commitment. You know, what do you think gave you the courage or the gusto to do that, to just hop right in?
I don't feel like it was hopping right in, because we started Crop with so many, since I had been here since 1988, 89, I had so many relationships.
Okay.
It's all about the relationships. Sure. So I felt confident that we would have work. It wasn't like we were a startup. I mean, we were a startup in the eyes of the financial community, and we had, it was hard to find a bank to give us a loan. But I felt like all these people that I met through the years and had done good work for would come with us, and most of them did. 99% of them did.
Okay.
So it wasn't. What was your question? Because I did have something else.
So I was just asking what really gave you the courage. To fully jump in, because again, it is still quite a commitment, obviously. Especially, I didn't even realize you had brought others with you. So having other people buy into the dream as well, I mean, that's a compelling discussion that has to be had.
Yeah. I think a lot of us got to the point where we realized we could just do it for ourselves.
Okay.
Because and our commitment at Crop is to always, customer comes first. So it's not like when I was working at DVA and I was working at White Hawk, I was working for the people that own those companies. I was working for the client. And, now, it's 24/7, because you got your phone and you can do stuff on the weekends and late at night. But then, I was working long hours and staying late and, just trying to figure, and I learned that, going back to my dad, you just have to make the client happy.
Yeah.
But in terms of, was it scary or where I got the courage? I just have faith.
Yeah.
And, I have always had faith that everything was going to work out. And I had to, going through what happened early on when I was only 24 years old and I was a widow. So that faith has sustained me through all of it.
Yeah. So then, stepping in now officially into Crop, let's talk about the first couple years, having that faith, having that gusto, bringing over those relationships. Was it smooth sailing? Were there bumps along the way? What did that kind of look like?
The biggest bump was, and I probably shouldn't mention who the client is, but going into it, we did feel very confident that this particular client was going to at least guarantee us $500,000 in billings year one, and we used that.
That helps.
We used that in our negotiations for lease space and to get financing, and that client never brought us one penny of one project. So that was a bump.
Yeah.
So for us to, at the end of year one, to have persevered and done the work that we did, and very, bill well over $1 million that first year was a reward and an accomplishment in spite of the fact that this one piece of business didn't come through for us.
Yeah, that's a huge, that's a dent, especially for a company just starting as well. So along that same thought, what did you do? You know, when you found out, okay, this isn't coming through. I mean, what did you just make twice as many phone calls?
Yeah, I remember when I called, you know, Harrell and Harrell I mentioned as one of our accounts. We got that year one, and I vividly remember picking up the phone and just calling over there and saying, "Hey,
yeah,
we would be interested in talking to you about your television production." And so
now, was there a connection there of any kind?
I just heard that they were looking.
Oh my goodness.
So we still have that account all these years later. We're going to, you know, into our 10th year. So this will be our 10th anniversary year. So that was very rewarding. Wounded Warrior Project, we did a lot of work for them year one. As I said, WTA, Women's Tennis Association. And then here and there, you know, there were only 4 of us at the time. So we didn't need, you know, we were fine for the 4 of us. And, what we needed to make, our salaries, and you know, how we needed to just continue our lifestyle that we had at the prior company with insurance and everything, and started 401ks right away. So there wasn't hiccups along the way in terms of having to suffer, having to eat, you know, Campbell's soup out of the can or anything. But again, you know, just faith that it was all going to work out.
Yeah.
And
So when it comes to, you know, the work that you all are doing, is there a particular area, I guess, that you would say you all really excel at? And then is there, on the opposite side, is there another area that you're really working on, you know, trying to grow through?
I think we excel, and it is a cliche these days. I hate to even say the word storytelling, but there is a way to do it and a way not to do it. And I think, you know, there's 11 of us at Crop, and everyone is committed to, you know, trying to find the most compassionate way to tell some of these stories, to try and find a way to elicit an emotional response from the audience, whether it's, you know, whether it's a sad story and you want somebody to donate money to help a cause, or you want to tell a celebratory story and have someone celebrate with you. We're just all skilled in that realm of storytelling. So that is the thing that I think we excel at most, our interview style, how we talk to average person. I mean, I have also interviewed Mark Wahlberg, so that wasn't hard.
That's cool.
Except I got really nervous. But, you know, an average person doesn't really, you know, with the lights, camera, action, sometimes they can get
For sure.
A little flustered. So we have a, you know, just a tried and true way that we do that, put them at ease, get genuine responses, not script their responses. So we love doing that. And then what we're looking to do moving forward, I think we also have a very talented, what I call graphics department, CGI,
Sure.
2D animation, 3D animation. We brought a creative director. We created the position of creative director about 4 years ago and brought someone with 25 years of advertising experience. So he manages the artists, the animators, and we've really elevated our game when it comes to effects and what you can do now with the magic of green screen and other, and I'm not the technical person, but the different software packages that they use to achieve, you know, different effects for different projects.
Okay. So I guess in headed towards, you know, maybe winding things down a little bit here, I am curious to know, are there any thoughts, tips, ideas that you would maybe share with other owners, you know, who are maybe struggling in a particular area? I mean, you're kind of, while you're the president, you all are still nimble enough, we'll call it, where you're still having to kind of be an HR from time to time. You're having to hire, you're having to deal with compliance measures, all sorts of things. Is there any advice that you would maybe give to another business owner who's in a similar position?
Honestly, I wouldn't know how to do it if we had 20 or 30 people. 11, 12, 13 at the most is a good size, because everyone can be empowered to work directly with the clients and make them happy. And they all understand. We all understand that's where we get our paycheck if they're happy. If we lose the business, there's an impact, obviously.
Right.
So I don't know how to communicate to somebody that wants to have a large organization, but someone that wants a flat, nimble organization. I think that's the key to it: empowering your employees, delegating responsibility, making them feel like they have it matters what they do as they're interacting with the client. That impacts the bottom line for the company. Appreciating their creative ideas. We do have opportunities where we all get together and we can brainstorm or do a charrette, and that's how we came up with the idea of the puppets for Turner Pest Control.
Yeah.
And then also, that's another cliche that I hate when people say, but we are very much like a family. We eat together every day. We supply crop supplies, lunch for the staff every day.
That's cool.
We invite clients to come over and be part of the creative process, and sometimes we get them in the door by saying, "Hey, why don't you come over for lunch?" The environment that we've built, we've tried to make it very, fun to come to work every day, because I can remember times where I was working for someone else and I just dreaded walking in the door.
Right.
And I would be sick all the time because I would be so miserable.
Yep.
So Megan, who's been with me since she was 20 years old, started as an intern. She's 34 now. She has brought both of her children, her babies, to work in the first year of their existence. Andy, who is the audio engineer, brought his son Hunter to work for the first year of his life. So we were open to that, to creating environments where they don't have to work 8 to 6, they can set their, people can set their schedule. They know what their obligations are.
Yep.
They can communicate directly with the client. They don't have to ask me to send the email. When they're done, they can send it. They're capable of doing that. So those are some things that have led to our success, ultimately, I think.
Yeah.
The atmosphere there and the empowerment of the people that do the work.
Well, I can speak to, having opportunities to be involved in your office, walk around your office. The culture that you all have created is certainly something I think everyone involved enjoys. And I do think that there's a lot of those elements that I think are missing from some of the leadership in certain companies. Really, you're talking about people, their ideas being valued, and at least just listening to the people that come through your office. So I've always very much so respected the culture you guys have built there. I think it's probably easy once people get to peek into that whenever they're interviewing and get to see what actually they'll be a part of. It's probably not that hard to hook them in from that point. But so for I guess anyone who's looking to, explore into crop a little bit deeper, what does that process look like if they're interested in maybe learning a little bit more?
Well, we just ramped up our internship program again. So we do have 2 interns for the summer. One is a student at UNF and one is a student at Chapel Hill, UNC. We're always, I get emails all the time. Hey, so-and-so said, I should meet you. I'm looking to get into the production industry, or I just moved to town. Or we're always just very, great. Let's set up a time to come over. We'll show you our space and, chat. So it's pretty low key.
Okay.
And, we usually always find the time to meet strangers and, see what they have to say.
And now what about from the perspective of someone looking to, maybe they've never had anyone do any kind of work for them before, whether it be audio, video, if they're looking for you guys to help them out in some capacity, one, is there a specific client that is typically a good fit for you all? And then two, how would they get engaged with you from that standpoint?
Such a range of clientele. I mean, from large, we've done work for web.com, for example, who's, just changed, their company has changed dramatically since we started doing work for them with all the acquisitions. But no, I've never said we're not the right person for you, we're not the right fit for you, unless it's been, and not to put it down, disparage, but somebody wanting us to do their wedding or a high school reunion or something, because there's a certain level of, we're a very professional organization. So we hire, the camera and the crew, the technical crew from the production community here per project. Those people aren't on staff. And those people are all very skilled and reputable and, make my job a lot easier, but they cost money. So there's a budget situation with lower end clientele that we just can't make work. We can't make fit in our model.
Okay. Well, Jennifer, I have to say it's been fun talking. It's cool to kind of know a little bit about where you started, where you guys stand. Obviously, you said you're about to celebrate 10 years?
Yeah, we started in 2012, so 2022 will be 10.
So 10 years, that's obviously no small feat. I think that we definitely wish you continued success. And really in closing, I don't even know if you would know this, because I know you have people internally that do this type of thing. But if someone were to want to watch like a demo reel or something about you guys, where would be the best place for them to find your content?
Well, we have a website, cropcreativemedia.com. We do have a relatively new reel up there to show a variety of some things we've been doing recently. I mentioned that we hired a creative director from an ad agency 4 years ago, and that was his first thing he was going to do, is revamp our website and sort of rebrand us.
Yep.
But he's been so busy that the website
hasn't
hasn't been touched in like 4 years, except we do have that new reel up there.
Yeah.
And there are some nice shots of our space and the people and everything. So, yeah, I would encourage people to check us out on the internet.
Cool. Awesome. Well, appreciate the time, and we will have a guest on next month, so stay tuned for that. But for now, we will definitely sign off and wish you guys the best. Thanks.
Thank you, Drew. Wowie. Time goes by fast.
Was that good?
I don't know. Do you listen to it?
You hit it off, you turn it off.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
I think it went well.